Welcome to the 3-Minute Writer. I'm Eric Wyatt. One of the questions I get a lot from both writers and non-writers is how my writing process works. There are as many variations of the process as there are writers, but here's how it works best for me. Almost all of my short fiction is character-driven, so my starting point is almost always this. It's a vision of a specific person in a specific place doing some specific action. I know that's not profound, and I'll explain in just a minute. After I have this core image for a story, I have a very specific method of writing the first draft, and then a number of ways I go about editing and revising, from the big picture level all the way down to the word choice and order. Let's start at the beginning, at the core image of the story. When I was still living in Kokomo and substitute teaching, the students would always ask me what my novel in progress was about. I would tell them, people, living in places, doing some stuff. It was more than just an evasive response. It was really how my fiction works. I start with a character in a situation, and then I expand it from there. I figure out the story as I go along. I write and write and write until I figure out who this character is and why she's in my head and why her story is important. I handwrite my first drafts because I found this to be the most freeing and convenient way to write. There are studies about the way the brain processes information differently when we write by hand as opposed to typing or speaking. And there's almost always something, a scrap of paper, a receipt, a napkin, something that I can write on, even if I don't have a notebook or notepad with me, which is rare. In these early stages, I try not to think too hard about where the story's going or how to keep things together. I just kind of try to keep up with my thinking. Sometimes the words come too fast, and other times I stare off into space waiting for the next sentence to find me. Next, I enter the handwritten text into a word processing system. The one I use is called Scrivener. Most of what I'm doing is transcribing, but I also begin to shape and position and set a more consistent tone for the piece. I've tried shortcuts for this step, like voice-to-text software, but for me, I found that transposing the text, or transposing the handwriting into text, is an important step of my creative process. After I have a digital version of the work, then I can get in and really move things around. I usually go through several stages. Sometimes I expand the draft, and other times I cut it back. The story's kind of a living, breathing thing at this point. It changes shape, it moves around, I'm never quite sure where it's going. So I have to let it grow and then contract, and eventually I've done all I can in the draft. When I feel I've done all I can and the story is starting to make me doubt whether it's any good, I hand it over to some faithful readers, and they give me ideas for doing the kind of surgery that helps finish the story. So that's my process in a nutshell. In other episodes of the 3-Minute Writer, I'll probably kind of tear this apart and look at the different aspects, but until then, just want to say thanks for watching and happy writing.